The haze starts to clear on campus. Are the wildfires around us under control? We'll have the answer.
UTC Greeks hear a powerful story about the consequences of drinking and driving.
And a Navy officer is reunited with his family at a UTC ball game. Find out what it took to pull off the surprise.
You will also meet the first winner of a new scholarship created for UTC vets. I'm Shane Perry.
And I'm Alex McKay. Your news starts now. Authorities now say they have most of the wildfires near us under control. That's welcome news to students who have breathing conditions like asthma. Major fires in our area like Flippers Bend, Mowbray Mountain, and Poe Road are now mostly contained. Forestry officials say in most cases the wildfires are the result of arson.
Rain would help us clear the air.
Our Emily Willis joins us to tell us if that will happen.
The answer is yes, with 2 good chances coming this week. First, we want to show you some of the firefighting efforts in our area. This is video from the Tennessee Valley Authority of a helicopter pulling water from the Tennessee River. TVA has a burn ban in effect, including campfires and barbecues. They are barring cars and trucks from parking on the grass or gravel roads. The reason is to prevent a fire from sparking from a hot muffler. Now on to the details on rain possibilities. We have a chance tonight going into Saturday. Then we have a strong chance of rain Wednesday, so be careful on your Thanksgiving travels. Also, the temperature will drop this week to a high in the 50s.
1 in 3 of us are impacted by drunk driving, and this past week members of Delta Zeta and Sigma Kappa sororities held a powerful event to remind us how the choice to drink and drive can have the devastating consequences. 1 in 3 is an organization that strives to educate the public on how their choices matter, through real-life stories of the impact of driving under the influence and the ripple effect that follows. They also encourage forgiveness as part of the healing process to those who grieve. In memory of Kevin, his mother and brother Tiki Finlayson and Derek Yates started 1 in 3 within days of the crash. As a family, they wanted to do more than change laws pertaining to driving under the influence. Their hope is to raise awareness and educate the public about this 100% preventable crime, so other families would not have to endure the same pain. Tiki Finlayson spoke about her son's life.
Kevin had a great last day. He got to go tubing with his new girlfriend and her family for the first time. He'd never been before. He was so excited to get to go. They actually took pictures of that day, and I'm so thankful for those pictures of seeing Kevin live life to the fullest, because that's just what Kevin did.
Tish Stevens, who is responsible for Finlayson's son's death, also joined her on stage to discuss her sentencing following the accident.
I was charged with vehicular homicide. I was charged with reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. I had several misdemeanors to go along with that. I had never been arrested before in my entire life, so I had no idea what I was facing. As I told you, I had 2 children at the time. They were ages 13 and 11. Had no idea what was going to happen to them. I went in front of the judge on April 3rd, 2012. I was sentenced to 8 years in a maximum security prison. They took me into custody at that time. I was here in Hamilton County in Silverdale for 2 months. After that, I was transported to Nashville, Tennessee to a maximum security prison. I served 20% of my time there, and I went up for parole at that time. Because of Tiki and her family, they came to my parole hearing and asked the parole board to allow me to come back home, which I don't think that I deserved at all. I took her son's life, and that's something that I can never repay her for. It's something that I'll have, to live with for the rest of my life. And that 8-year sentence in prison, that's absolutely nothing compared to waking up every day knowing that you took someone's life.
1 in 3 was a part of Sigma Kappa and Delta Zeta's campaign to show the consequences of drinking and driving.
So Tiki is a wonderful woman that has started this organization here in Chattanooga called 1 in 3. So tonight we are presenting this thing called the I Have a Choice campaign that Delta Zeta and Sigma Kappa comes together to put on this campaign to show the dangers of drinking and driving that unfortunately rips apart families, as you can see by Tiki's story of the loss of her son. And so she's going to present the story of how her son was killed in this accident, as well as the woman that killed her son. Her name is Tish. She will share her side of the story as well.
Lauren Harvey explains the importance of this campaign.
They inform you about the dangers of drinking and driving, and I know that's a pretty big problem around campus with some college students who I know some personally who do it quite often. So I think it's important for people to come here and hear all this.
If you're going out to drink, make sure you have a designated driver with you to avoid becoming part of the statistic. To learn more about 1 in 3, visit their website at www.iam1in3.org.
UTC police are investigating reports of harassment and stalking. Police say this case happened between a student and an unknown individual who did not have a relationship. UTC authorities say we are hearing more reports of harassment and stalking because of the definition of the crimes has broadened to help prevent more violent cases from happening. You can contact police at 911 or call 425-HELP. That's 425-4357.
A quick look at headlines. Volkswagen will cut 30,000 jobs over the next 3 years. The automaker is trying to recover from a diesel emissions scandal. Most of the cuts will happen in Germany.
In Alabama, U.S. Senator Jeff Sessions is apparently Donald Trump's choice for Attorney General. NBC News has confirmed that information. Sessions was the first U.S. Senator to publicly support Trump in his race for the presidency.
A UTC Army veteran became the first recipient of a new scholarship honoring the memory of a UTC alum who lost his life in Afghanistan. Here's the story.
Sergeant Stevens was killed in action on April 12, 2007 in Afghanistan. This scholarship was created by the Student Veterans Organization in memory of an alumni student veteran and was established to ease the financial burden of student veterans attending UTC. The first recipient is Army veteran David Cowrie, a junior majoring in social work. His projected graduation is spring 2018. Fans, let's hear it for Army veteran David Cowrie.
I just thought it's a blessing. I'm going through vocational rehabilitation through the VA, so every little bit helps my family. So it was an honor too. Stevens family they're really nice people, and I'm honored to, be the first to receive this scholarship. So yeah, it's something that leaves me speechless. I wasn't expecting that. Of course, most people like me, that you feel like you don't deserve something like that, but it was nice. It was nice. It was a good experience.
So for the past 4 years since the SVO started, we've been trying to endow this scholarship for the alumni David Stevens, who was a sergeant in the United States Army. After graduating from UTC, he was killed in action in Afghanistan, and we couldn't think of a better way to represent somebody who gave their life for us than to try to endow a scholarship for him to continue to be able to give back to others. So we've held 5K races every year. His family's always been involved and come down. And this past year, with the help of quite a few alumni and Paul Clark and stuff like that, we were actually able to finally endow the scholarship at $28,000 to be able to give out our first $1,000 grant this semester. So now our goal is to push it to $50,000 so we can give 2 $1,000 scholarships from here on out and just continue to let the sky be the limit. Because David Stevens, I believe, would have given everything else he could have had he not given his life that day. There's no reason to stop now.
One family got a special surprise this past weekend at the football game, and we were there to catch it. You never get tired of seeing a military reunion, and that's the case with the family of Navy Petty Officer Rex Henry Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please stand and help us welcome home First Class Petty Officer and Expeditionary Warfare Specialist Rex Edward Henry Jr.
He contacted us and said that he's going to be home and he wanted a special way to present it to his family. So we got together with our marketing department and just kind of sat down and brainstormed what we could possibly do to make it special for him and his family. We've been working on it for about 2.5 months. It was very well planned. But he's been in town for about a week, and his parents just found out, so they're a little upset with him that he's been home as long as he has and waited until this game to show up. It's almost like Christmas every morning. You know, you see the smile on their face, you know you're happy to be home, and it's kind of that moment when you finally realize that you are home. It is when you finally see your loved ones and get to wrap your arms around them. It's the greatest feeling you could ever have.
Here's our Jonathan Najjar with sports, and it's been a busy week for the Mocs.
We've had our ups and downs this week with some big wins on the basketball court.
Yes, we have, but first, let's talk about football. The road to the playoffs got a little more complicated for the Mocs after Saturday's game. Here's what happened.
A tough weekend has put the Mocs' playoff chances in jeopardy. Poor play on special teams ended up dooming the Chattanooga Mocs last weekend against the Wofford Terriers. This was a game that the defense played good enough to earn the win, but a safety from the offense and terrible play on special teams all night lost them the game. The offense started strong, driving down and scoring a touchdown in the first quarter, but unfortunately the special teams gave up a 100-yard kickoff return on the next play to let the Wofford Terriers even the game. Their play did not get better as the night progressed. Mistakes gave Wofford the ball in the red zone twice, essentially dooming the defense. The loss shattered the Mocs' chances of playing a home game in the playoffs and has put the Mocs at risk of completely missing the playoffs altogether. It will be a quick turnaround for the Mocs if they do make the playoffs, as they will immediately have to hit the road against a foe they have likely never faced in program history. The loss of home field advantage is devastating for the Mocs because Coach Huseman's Mocs are 0-2 when on the road during the playoffs.
The Mocs will be traveling down to Tuscaloosa to take on the #1 team in the nation this weekend. Their task will be to slow down a roster comprised of All-Americans and future NFL draft picks. The Mocs will be playing under the lights in front of nearly 100,000 screaming fans this time around. Needless to say, the Mocs will be heavy underdogs as they attempt the impossible of being the first team to slow down. Nick Saban and that guy on his staff that bailed out on Tennessee to only have his next team leave him in a parking lot. Tune in to ESPN2 at 7 p.m. to see if the Mocs can attempt to shake up the college football playoffs. On to the Mocs men's basketball team, who opened the season with an upset win over the other UT school. They unfortunately followed that big win with a blowout loss at the hands of UNC. While the Mocs were not predicted to be able to hang with the Tar Heels, the loss was disappointing for a team that made the NCAA tournament last season. The Mocs will have to improve in games like this if they want to win their first playoff game since March. The women's basketball team is following a similar path to that of the men's team. They opened the season with a double-digit win over a tough Big Ten opponent, with a win over Rutgers in New Jersey. Unfortunately, their home opener saw them lose to also-ranked Florida. The Mocs season didn't get easier from there, as they also followed that game with the ranked Indiana Hoosiers when they came to town and took home a win yesterday. While the Mocs were unable to avenge the men's first-round loss to the Hoosiers last March, they did keep the game close and put on a show for the fans. The ladies will look to get back on track this weekend as they take a trip to Louisville to take on Lafayette College in a must-win game for the women's Mocs.
The International Education Week celebration started with a global tea time. The event was open in the Multicultural Center to anyone to attend. You could take a break from the afternoon's activities to choose from green tea to mate with all kinds of flavors in between. A worker at the MCC decided to check it out and experiment with her tea choice.
I think the idea of this is really unique. Like when I saw it, I was actually really excited. So I think if they were to do it in a colder place, more people will come out. So I think that's a great idea.
You can mingle with international students and play board games. Organizers want to hold this event more often and offer up to 200 different kinds of tea. That does it for this edition of Mocs News. Thank you for joining us. Check out our videos uploaded throughout the week to YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe.
We air on the UTC TV channel and Housing Channel 2.1. So tune in and have a great weekend from all of us here at Mocs News.